the march. The empire is on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Look at this headline up on Infowars.com from RT. Ooh, criminal investigations in Congress. FBI criminally investigating. Look, I posted an RT story. Anti-Trump feminist tells companies not to insure Russian ambassador's life. Intense Russophobia has overwhelmed U.S. response to the Kremlin. And it goes on to have the left saying, don't even, do business with Russians. They're all just devils. Talk about scapegoats. Talk about xenophobia. Talk about stereotypes. Just talk about ridiculous. I'm going to stop talking about this soon because we've got big Vatican news coming up with Leo Zagami and also Craig Sawyer, former Navy SEAL with the Dev Group and TV host and expert. He's been launching investigations into the pedophile networks, the big busts that are going on, and the fact that once the police bust them, the media won't cover it. In fact, guys, I meant to do this. Will you print me the LA Times and the KTLA and all that about, the hundreds of pedophiles arrested, including kids in cages and women enslaved, but then there was no coverage after. Just there's been a bunch of busting. Sandusky's son getting in, and the head of Penn State getting indicted, and just a bunch of the latest pedophile news. What's his name? Uma Abedin's beard. Anthony Weiner. Yeah, Weiner and the stuff we broke about the sexting and procuring of young girls. And the UN report about the thousands of Haitians enslaved in sex slavery, many of them killed. And just a lot of that, because, they say after Pizzagate that they basically made up, that we covered a little bit, and I just clarified, that pedophilia doesn't exist. And then they've got lots of stuff, sexualizing kids on the news and the rest of it. NAMBLA is part of the UN. They want your kids. They want to have a 60-year-old guy come knock on your door and, invite your 5-year-old daughter out. And, it's her right to go with them. It's the school's right to inject your kids with vaccines. I mean, this is the wall of fraud they're engaged in, hoping you're weak-minded and will go along with it. So they're going to be joining us because we should cue it up. Remember, it was 3 days before the media broke it. We had Leo Zagami on, breaking the big gay orgy, cocaine orgy. He's got all the details, the next big shoes to drop. He'll join us from Rome coming up and riding shotgun. Craig Sawyer, who's involved, will show his website with, 12 different intelligence agencies, MI6, German intelligence, U.S., CIA, FBI, you name it, who are aware of all this and are working on ways to legally leak the busts that are going on without compromising the trials. The problem is gag orders are being put in on all these, and a lot of the judges, some of them are good, some of them are bad. It's all being killed because it goes up to the higher-ups above it. That's why you see the head of Penn State going down and others. I mean, this is big. In fact, I'd expect a lot of these people that are in custody to, die in prison, like Paterno magically. Might have gotten indicted, but he died. I'm not saying Paterno did anything. Oh, no, certainly not. They were just raping kids, Sandusky and others, at high noon in the field house in the showers. But it was kids that have had troubled past and a special system, charity, where the poor young children would get to, that had already been raped, but no one would believe, who already had physically been abused, so you couldn't see the signs because they were already there. They would be supplied for overnight visits with the rich and powerful. And now we know the deputy pope was procuring hundreds of little boys that they would rape. He would test drive them. But this is all liberal. And see, that's why the liberal publications are mad at us, because they want to make it just like one more sexual preference to, like Salon did last year or this year, where they show a 5-year-old girl and twirling around in a leotard, in a tutu, with a weirdo drooling, saying he's sexually aroused by it. Again, they've got to tell you what they're into. They got to tell you how it is. They want to throw it in your face first. But they push a little too hard. With Podesta's brother in the Washington Post in 2007 showing pictures of little kids with their butts naked, paddled red, and saying, I'll show what I want. I don't care if you don't like it. I'm going to show you my deviant art. As he walked around looking like, well, he looks like the mayor of New York, who's one of his top assistants got caught being a pedo. They all got that pedo grin, don't they? That jack-o'-lantern grin. I mean, I'm not saying they're pedos or anything. I'm just saying they really look like big, fat demon slobs, don't they? They make your stomach turn, your hair stand up. And we've got the satanic pedophile network on the run. Trump is delivering on his promise to go after him, and all the other patriots have seen that as the signal. because believe me, they come after you when you fight them, to engage them. So the war is on against Orthodox radical Islam, itself obsessed with pedophilia and the satanic pedophile networks. Here's Leo Zagami, investigative journalist in Rome, 3 days before it broke in the Western news and became a firestorm about the gay cocaine orgy at the office of the Inquisition. That's the internal Vatican political police. Let's go ahead and play that clip.
Conflict a few days before George Pell got booted out of the Vatican, we had basically the police breaking inside the palace of the Holy Office, the ex-Inquisition, now known as the Congregation for the Matters of Faith, basically the headquarters of the most holy office in the Vatican. The police broke in and found a gay orgy, and they were using cocaine, and they basically had to arrest the secretary of a very prominent cardinal who himself was waging war against Cardinal Pell. So there is also an internal war here, and of course nobody wanted to show the face of this priest, but I wanted to show it to your viewers. It's called Monsignor Luigi Capozzi, and only very few media, I think only RT probably just mentioned the name of Capozzi's boss.
So there you go. And Zagami was reporting it first on his site, lezcano.com. He's written a whole bunch of books predicting that this cardinal would become the new pope. Of course, that is the current Pope Francis, and that his aide-de-camp, his number 2 guy, they say he's the number 3, really the number 2 in actual power, George Pell, has now returned to Australia to face the charges of hundreds of young boys raped and then procured and pimped out over 40-plus years. Ladies and gentlemen, that's only the gateway. Then it's Satanism. That's ABC News. They are so upset now that the dam is falling. Trump, of course, 4 years ago said, we need to take pedophiles, we need to have quick trials, we need to execute them. Okay? Got to do something about these missing children grabbed up by perverts. Too many incidents, fast trial, death penalty. You got the Clintons and Jerry Sandusky, and the head of Penn State just getting indicted, and Sandusky's son. And you've got the Lolita Express and Jerry Epstein. And you've got, we first broke, even the day before Breitbart did with Eric Prince and his law enforcement sources, former head of Blackwater, head of XZ, whatever you want to call it today, saying, yes, they're procuring kids on these planes, and yes, Weiner's got sexting to a bunch of kids. We told you that. It broke later. He's pled guilty to it. That's just the low-level stuff. He's our Renfield. He goes out from our intel and the reports we've got and is gathering. So joining us for the rest of the hour are Leo Zagami, and of course Craig Sawyer is a former decorated Navy SEAL, don't want me to say it, but the Dev Group, you name it. And then, of course, he's hosted a bunch of shows on Discovery Channel, History Show, Top Shot, you name it. And he is produced a lot of films, done a lot of shows, but he ran into brick walls in Hollywood trying to get financing to interface with law enforcement, because the missing part of the puzzle is no media will run it. You see the hundreds of pedophiles arrested here, hundreds there, dozens of kids found in cages, KTLA. There's hundreds of these busts, and then it all disappears into the, quote, legal system, and the media doesn't follow it up. You think they'd be all over it at these hearings, covering it, burrowing into who it is. Trump's rolled up the first and second level. Now it's all gummed up in the courts. The cover-up's taking place, and anybody trying to investigate it, they're trying to shut down. But now we're blowing big, giant holes in it. Let's go to Leo Zagami to give us any updates on what's happening, and then we'll also co-host here with Craig Sawyer, the Sawman. We'll also give you his website as well. Leo, I kind of set the table here. You said last week when you broke all this news on Monday that your intel sources all over Europe say, no, it's Trump's impetus and greenlighting, linking up with other agencies. Exactly what Craig Sawyer's saying. We should show you his site and show all the agencies that are involved, patriots that are involved, just to understand how big this fight for the heart and soul of the world is right now. Leo Zagami, what's the latest?
Well, thank you for having me back on, because there is a lot of news coming from the Vatican of interest. First of all, the mysterious death of a cardinal, Joachim Meissner, who was one of the 4 cardinals who last year sent this letter challenging the Pope, basically, which we have mentioned, if you remember, in the past episodes with you. And this is very interesting because Cardinal Joachim Messner died suddenly on the 5th of July, but up until the day before, he was in contact with Cardinal Müller, who was kicked out of the Palace of the Holy Inquisition. He was the prefect, the head, once they broke in with the story of the raid of the orgy, which was not actually people connected to Müller, but rather people connected to Pope Francis. And Pope Francis, instead of getting Müller on the case, he just kicks him out. And it's very interesting also the fact that he kicks him out in a very harsh way, which is unprecedented for somebody who is the head of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, because he invites him there, he makes him talk and give his points, and then in the end he just says, okay, your job is not renewed, you can leave. And he just goes out of the room, and basically to astonish the Cardinal Müller, who thought maybe he will come back bringing a token for him or something. Actually, there was at that point Father Gershwin, Georg Gershwin, who has been for many years the secretary of Ratzinger, who has to go there and take him out of the room because the guy was literally shocked.
Sure, now I understand you're giving us inside baseball, but just talk to me like I'm 5 years old, because this is complex stuff. You're an expert. You live outside the Vatican. You're there. You're a journalist. Specifically, what do you make of the Pope then firing a bunch of traditionalists once he got caught again? Is that him retaliating? And what do you make of his right-hand man, the Cardinal of Australia, returning back to face the charges of the mass pedophile ring?
Well, all these people, including Cardinal Pell, and also the new Archbishop Luis Ladaria, the Jesuit who has taken the place of Cardinal Müller as the head of the Inquisition of the Holy Office after this big scandal, they are all connected to a secret group called the Mafia of San Gallo, nicknamed the Mafia of San Gallo, which is a secret Masonic lodge that meets in Switzerland. And in Switzerland, with the now deceased Cardinal Maria Martini, they basically planned the election of Pope Francis already back in 2005, but they didn't manage to win the favors of everybody. So then they attempted again in 2013, and now they are literally dismantling all the conservative process, all the conservative leaders of the church, because they are, of course, progressive liberals. They are working with
And are all these busts a conservative counterstrike trying to take them out? And is that why he's accelerating his purge? A, B, will this work? How does the Civil War appear to be going, Leo Zagami?
Well, the war against these people, as I said, will leave some people on the ground, because I think it's very suspicious, the death of Cardinal Messner, and I think also that we're going to see some very big things happening soon in Australia with Cardinal Pell going in front of a court. Imagine a cardinal who is number 2, number 3 in the Vatican, arriving in front of a court of law in Australia. This is unprecedented, and it will give some definitely intelligence.
So will this bring down the conservative Catholic Church, what's left of the real Catholic Church, or will this bring down the people that use their pedophile rings to blackmail control into it, as even the London Guardian admits 4 years ago? What's going to end up happening, Leo?
Well, this depends from the intelligence agencies, which are backed now by Trump in this war against the pedophiles. If we really want to go after the pedophiles, Pope Francis is our enemy number 1, because Pope Francis has done nothing to fight pedophilia, but has done again and again just acts of cover-up and protection.
Sure, but what I'm saying is it appears they're beginning to lose and we're beginning to win, or is that too preemptive? Or is it too early to say that, Leo Zagami?
They're still very powerful, Alex. So this is our ongoing war, and we're going to see what happens. But I hope that with the help of Trump, the intelligence agencies around the world finally are going to unleash mayhem against the Vatican. Because there is, even the Italian police told me, Leo, we are just waiting for a backup from America, from anybody in power, so we can go in the Vatican and arrest them.
Exactly. So we're reaching that tipping point. Craig Sawyer, vetsforchildrescue.org, tacticalinsider.com. We got 2 minutes to break, but give us your approximation of where we are in the war against the pedophile Satanist.
Well, I think it's a matter of information, Alex. The American people can only be subjugated by a minority group of tyrants as long as we allow that power over us. So I think knowledge is power. And the genie has just recently started to leak out of the bottle. So I think the American public and globally are just starting to become aware of this pervasive scourge against our youth. So I think it's really all about advising, educating, and informing the people. I think that's just now starting to happen. I think there's going to be a lot of gnashing of teeth, so to speak, as people digest just how far this has gotten. And once people can digest it and realize that it's actually happening, formulate exactly how we're going to link arms and unite to stand up against it.
Now, I want to talk some about, when we come back with Leo and you, about the big picture, but also what you've both gone through. Leo's been grabbed, arrested, I mean, you name it for this stuff. He's been proven right. But they've tried to block you on PayPal, on other systems. I've seen them not even let you get donations I've given. When you've got shows on History Channel, Discovery, I mean, you're totally respected. They are not letting you organize this. They are so scared of you trying to make a film with law enforcement.
But that is empowering because the people are starting to see it now. The enemy, if you will, are showing their hand. So now the American public are seeing that this is real and that there are people that want to keep this suppressed. And it's, quite honestly, it's ticking people off. With this whole Pedo Pal campaign that went viral on Twitter, forced PayPal to fork up back over our funds. So the American public are realizing that when they stand up for truth and take no grief, that we can assert our will.
That's right. The giant's rising. Stay there. There are a lot of big fights happening right now. But make no mistake, this is the first 21st century major information war, cyber war. It's being directed by globalists that are allied with corrupt forces in the Vatican, Orthodox radical Islam, the main Sunni contingent, the socialists and globalists in the EU, Hollywood, but the glue that ties it all together. People like Meryl Streep, praising child rapists. The thing that ties it all together is the pedophilia. But it's a perfect sacrament of their religion of being greedy, hateful, selfish, pig-like creatures. And you see it as a staple in Al-Qaeda, a staple in ISIS, a staple in the people that have taken over the Vatican, a staple in the takedown of Protestant churches, a staple in the colleges at Penn State, the high schools, is pedophilia. It's real. It went on in the time of Rome. It's going on now. And it's their cult. And it's all coming out in the open. And people are sick of it. Now, coming up, I was just watching during the break, Democrat senators flipping out on CNN going, this is incredibly serious. Donald Jr., Russians did influence the election, because they met with one lady who wanted to talk about sanctions. They're like, no, we want to talk about Russian connections to Hillary, which are now confirmed. That's Donald Jr. doing his job, so that he's trying to find Russian spies. He's now a Russian spy. So that's coming up. All these wars tie together. Now, we're talking to Craig Sawyer, TechnicalInsider.com, former Navy SEAL, Patriot. And we've also have Leo Zagami, lezcano.com. This is a brief segment, so I want to get quick comments from both of you. Going back to Craig Sawyer, talking to your sources, I know you want to get into ongoing investigations and things, but in general, the pedos know they're under attack. They know their first and second lines are getting arrested all over the world. Australia, you name it. This is global. What's the intel from your sources? How's the war against these people going?
Well, it's going well. I'd like it if there would be a little bit more acknowledgement by the president publicly, so that those that don't have access to it can kind of recognize that this is happening. There are reports out there, but it's not mainstream so much. So I think that would be tremendously helpful if you just say, hey, yeah, this is what we're doing. There are a lot of arrests made, and just kind of give a little nod of acknowledgement to that. But there are a lot of good people working very hard, and I think, though, more importantly, that swamp's got to be drained, Alex. A lot of the federal system does not yet work well because there's so many that are involved that causing log jams in these investigations. So I think the sooner that swamp gets drained from the top, the sooner we can have a cascading success rate of legitimizing these agencies and being more effective with these investigations and arrests. The bottom of the rabbit hole, the bottom of the swamp. We saw 474 arrested, 28 sexually exploited children, many of them found in cages. KTL-5, that was back in early February 1st.
No coverage of that after that ever. We sent reporters there. The L.A. County said we're not allowed to talk. There's a total shutdown from our sources. They've never seen anything like it. That's just one bust of over 10,000 pedophiles. A playpen, over 150,000 users with real child porn, kids kidnapped, you name it. The FBI busted that, nothing on that. I mean, this is incredible.
You know, that type of blackout is not a service to the American people, man. If the American citizens think that the mainstream media is there to provide them a service, I would encourage them only to look at who owns those networks and give consideration as to what their political views really are, and understand that they're not going to inform the American public in a way that empowers us. So we've got to start reading on our own, paying attention to these reports, and not expecting to be spoon-fed any longer. Times are changing, and
That's
now
right.
that genie's out of the bottle, we're seeing that there's a genuine mass deception campaign that's been going on. So we need to wake up to it.
Leo Zagami, we're going to break in about 1 minute and 15 seconds, but what are the other big pieces of news? I know you've always got a ton of stuff coming up after the break.
Well, we have done a poll, not a pool, because my wife always says that I pronounce it in the wrong way, about Pope Francis, which has given astonishing results. If you want, we can talk about it after the publicity, because it's incredible what the Italians have said about Pope Francis in this poll, which includes 3 questions. And the first question was if they believe that Pope Francis was actually elected in a genuine way. And I must say that the answer is pretty astonishing, because there is 93.5% that say that basically the Pope's election has been manipulated by an external power. And this external power is a secret Masonic lodge, which is based in Switzerland, in San Gallo, which for many years saw as the leader Cardinal Maria Martini, which was basically the mentor of Pope Francis.
Wheels within wheels, plans within plans. Stay with us. Oh, we're riding on the storm.
Riders on the storm.
Big time. That's why you see North Korea out of control all of a sudden. It's why you see, top aide of the Pope, number 2, number 3 guy, depending on how you look at it, busted running giant child kidnapping, rape gangs. Now going under criminal charges today in Australia, turning himself into the police. It's amazing. That's why you see them claiming this Russia investigation over Trump, and then his son putting out his emails, and they say, why'd he dox himself? Because he didn't do anything. They met with thousands of people. Of course, they met with some Russian lawyer. Do you have evidence she's working with the Russians? That's what Hillary was running around trying to get stuff on Trump. But again, they act like that's collusion. Like, I saw a Russian once, or a person born in Russia out of 80-something people here in my office, an Army vet, great patriot, works in my office. My gosh, we're under suspicion. A Russian works here. Melania's from Eastern Europe. You can't trust her. This is the mental illness, ladies and gentlemen. This is the total mental illness. And now he's released the emails, and you look at them, and it's a 10-minute meeting. It's nothing, but they're the ones that have the Russian connections. We're going to tie all this together here in just a moment with Craig Sawyer, former Navy SEAL and Patriot, and obviously TV host, a tactical trainer, tacticalinsider.com, vets4childrescue.org. We'll get more into how they tried to shut him down and where the fight's going. Leo Zagami, lezcano.com, investigative journalist in Rome. I want to both talk about stuff they've been through trying to cover the pedophiles, because that's when you really know how much power they've got, when all hell breaks loose. Right as they're trying to normalize pedophilia, you notice the last few years, we're really kind of messing up their oatmeal here. We're kind of pissing in their Cheerios, because this was supposed to be their big coming out now. And I've got news today where they're trying to sexualize small children in the news. I mean, this is crazy. Briefly, we're listener supported. We're not funded by the Russians. We're not funded by the Easter Bunny. We're funded by you, mainly buying products at InfoWarsStore.com. Whether it's CNN, his fake news shirt, great to spread the word, meet like-minded people, InfoWars.com on the back says real news. Whether it is a Hillary for Prison shirt, we have a new limited edition of that. Whether it is a Molon Lambe shirt, men and women's, we have these new really soft fabric shirts made in America. It's amazing. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or 888-253-3139. And I've decided to expand free shipping throughout the month of July. I've never done that before. Folks love it. And we have all of our main nootropic and high-quality supplements discounted. Brain Force Plus, 30% off. Super Male Vitality, 30% off. Survival Shield, the Good Halogen X2, so amazing. 30% off. You really owe it to yourself to try these, folks, if you haven't. Z-Shield, the heavy metal and toxin detoxifier. InfoWars, super high-quality storable foods powered by My Patriot. That's got it in today. 30 to 40% off. Emmerich Essentials Outdoor Pack, 40% off. That is the sunscreen and the great bug spray that's all organic. Now, some of these will have to end soon because some are about to sell out. But Myco ZX that knocks out the candida, the fungus, all that garbage, that's what it's designed to do out of the gut. It's been sold out for almost 5 months, 6 months. It's back in, and it goes great with Biome Defense, our high-quality probiotic that we keep refrigerated. That is 30% off when you get those together, and that funds the operation. So I want to thank you all for your support. DNA Force is finally back in stock after, again, 5+ months being out as well. It's got the CoQ10, the Na-R-lipoic acid, the Bio-PQQ. These are the real organic derived forms of it, not the fake synthetic ones that cost even more. And we've got 20% discount on that out of the gates, even though we can't keep it in stock. Just want to pass that on to you. And again, it's really amazing. Read about the 175 studies at InfoWarsLife.com, why DNA Force is so amazing, the Bio-PQQ, and more. Whatever you do, take advantage of it. We also have D Magazine and Newsweek and a bunch of Washington Post making fun of the fact that we sell fluoride-free toothpaste. My dad developed it. He's a dentist and an oral surgeon. The hydrofluorosilicic acid they put in toothpaste is toxic, causes brain damage, bone cancer. That's Harvard studies. Just search engine it for yourself. Lowered IQs. And you need a little bit of calcium fluoride. That's not what they put in the toothpaste. We have it fluoride-free with the colloidal silver and with the high-quality iodine. And nobody else has got it. It's made by the same folks that make Tom's of Maine. It's amazing. Super Blue, back in stock. InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. Now, I want to try to give these guys the floor in this next 15 minutes or so we've got before we go to break to cover the waterfront, what they want to talk about, dealing with the pedophile empire being drug out in the open, literally in big trouble, the Vatican reeling. This is unprecedented. This is 100 times bigger than cardinals and priests being caught before, because now we know these are the guys that covered it up, being caught being absolute child raping demons. So what goes beneath the swamp? What's below the pedophilia? We know it's Satanism. We know it's worse, the raping of children. I want to get Craig Sawman Sawyer to talk about that, and then Zagami, and then talk about what you guys have gone through, the latest shoes to drop, what's coming next. Then I want to talk about the Russia situation and how they're trying to say that any of us that investigate Hillary for Russia connections, well, that makes us Russian spies. Talk about upside-down logic. So who wants to go first here?
Please go.
All right. Well, what's behind it, Alex? Well, it's power. It's just a struggle for power. Some of these misguided elites are struggling for something meaningful. They want power and influence, and they're going about it completely the wrong way. And it's nothing new, but the public's just now starting to learn about it. So it's an ugly revelation. It's hard for people to kind of accept that it's happening and deal with it. So that's step one, is really causing people to recognize that it is happening, then how to confront and put it down. Some of the grief that we've been going up against, and as soon as we announced the launch of Vets for Child Rescue, we started getting chatter on the internet of people that were panicking and planning their attacks against us. And sure enough, and one of the things that they were going to go against is discredit any fundraising that we tried to do.
And by the way, they don't know that you're a federal officer, not just a guy that's been in SEAL Team 6, all the rest of it, and you have TV shows, you're well known. I mean, you've got intel on these people. You know what they're doing, and they're so ignorant they don't understand that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's that they don't understand that. I think it's just they can't. They have to run and hide. They've got to try to fight to hold what little they've got left, because truth is coming. You know.
So you're saying they're cornered. They're cornered now.
Well, they are. Now it's just starting. Look, you asked earlier where are we at in this battle. The American public has not even stepped foot on this battlefield yet. So I kind of liken myself in a way to a modern-day Paul Revere, but instead of saying the British are coming, I'm saying the pedophiles are already here. And it's a global epidemic and problem. But we've got to be aware. I've got to let everybody know. We have to let everybody know that this is going on so that we can combat it. So we've had our fundraising attacked. Man, GoFundMe would not even publish our campaign. So, and then you caring, as you remember, Alex, stopped our campaign while I was live on the air with you, and donations were coming in. And then americasfund.me stepped in and ran the rest of our campaign and did it honorably. So I want everybody to recognize americasfund.me did an honorable and straight job. And then PayPal went to go transfer donations from our website into the Vets for Child Rescue account, and they said, nope, we're going to sit on this for 180 days. And they disabled my ability to email them, and then they hung up on me when I called. So I notified our legal team, and I had our legal team start writing up messages. But before our legal team could even present them with a letter, people took to social media and started a hashtag pedopal campaign, and hundreds, if not thousands, of people were deleting their PayPal accounts because of what PayPal did to us. And then within 48 hours of that campaign, PayPal sent me another message without any other further communication, announcing that there was no more problem and that our funds were free.
But I mean, you're a guy that's like one of the main guys on 2 or 3 big shows. You're a well-known author. You're a well-known, famous Navy SEAL. I mean, how in the world do they then, all these groups not say you're legitimate? Because I saw the letters, we published them saying you're not legitimate. This is, a fraud or whatever. It's crazy. No, they're legitimately in real time scared, and I don't want to bring myself up, but I want the audience to know what I do with my charity is stuff like this behind the scenes. When they tried to censor you, I gave 10,000, then they censored that, I gave 90,000, and we haven't really talked since then. Obviously, were you able to get that?
Yes, sir. That is in our account and in safekeeping, and we're finalizing probably today the contract with the executive producer, the production company that's actually going to shoot the documentary series. So,
and one way or another, it's going to get released. Even if TV won't release it, it's going to be released. Working with law enforcement, the final link was getting media that would actually cover, but doing it with law enforcement so it's done right, to actually expose that the media won't cover all these PETA busts.
Absolutely. Look, we've got to just walk the American public through in a practical, factual way to let them see what really happens. There need be no exaggeration here. We just have to walk them through and show them what actually has been happening, so that they can understand and accept it. And we've got some of the greatest people out there that have been through hell in this situation, have been part of the healing of some of these victims, and people from every aspect of it. So I'm thankful at the forward progress and the access and the allies that we've assembled in this fight. So it's
talk about some of the other patriots, not just here but around the world, without their names obviously, that are involved, and how chomping at the bit good guys inside government are ready to go after this.
Yeah, well, a lot of the rank and file in the federal law enforcement community are doing great work. And in some cases, they are only able to do so much because their boss or their boss's boss may be complicit or corrupt. So, like I said, the logjam, those creating the logjam throughout the chain of command and federal law enforcement have to be purged. They have to be removed, and there's got to be a deliberate process. And, President Trump, I give him credit for being aggressive and trying to clean the swamp as quickly as he can. But as you know, Alex, a lot of his cabinet are not yet in place, because those that have been put in a position to grant the clearances have been compromised and corrupted.
Well, expanding on that, Trump is so good about not talking about military or law enforcement operations that he goes too far sometime, not giving himself any positive propaganda. I mean, it's what it is. So he won't talk about the pedo raids and stuff, obviously, and I know this for a fact, because he doesn't want any info known about it by the enemy. They already know it's happening. He needs to declare the good work he and many others have been doing, so that folks understand this is a real focal point. Another reason a lot of people won't fight the pedo stuff is they're not pedos. They know the pedos and the people they're really behind them, the Satanists, they will really come after you. But the answer is all of us standing up, then we will overpower them, we will crush them. Leo Zagami, let me ask you this question. You're a leading expert. You've gone through hell. You never really talk about it. To write your books that are available on your website that are so good, breaking down the inside structure of this. What is beneath the pedophiles in the swamp? What's at the very bottom of the rat hole?
Well, in the last few days, definitely it's clear that the Jesuits and certain irregular, deviated, twisted Masonic lodges that operate outside of the boundaries of regular Freemasonry are operating in favor of these pedophilia rings. And the new target, you were asking me before, who is the new target of investigations of the people who are going after these pedophiles? Well, it's been suggested to me that the new target for investigation now is Archbishop Francisco Luis Ladaria, who is the new head of the Holy Office, because apparently he has a lot of skeletons in the cupboard, especially he has covered the pedophile monster Don Gianni Trotta, so already that should be enough to not have him as leader of the Catholic faith, but he's also involved directly in the pedo rings. So Pope Francis is really actively involved with these pedo rings, and he doesn't have any excuse anymore. He's in the face of everybody that he's covering up these people, and it's a constant scandal in the Vatican, and it's not only Cardinal Pell, but many others. Now, Coco Palmiero, the one who was involved with the gay orgy, they broke in because his guy, Luigi Capozzi, was found writing fragrant, having a gay orgy with cocaine, and now he's in a rehab. Well, Coco Palmiero is one of the key figures in this pedo ring, and is also one of the electors of Pope Francis and a member of this mafia of San Gallo. I posted on my website an article called Jesuit and Pedophiles Take Over the Catholic Faith, guided by a secret Masonic Lodge, in which a cardinal from Belgium, this cardinal from Belgium is called Gottfried Daniels, says that he was a member of this club, of this mafia club, and he openly says it during a conference. So if you go and check this video, for all those supposed journalists out there who don't want to do their work, well, they will find out that this cardinal is openly stating he's part of this secret group known as the Mafia of San Gallo, which is the pedo ring headquarters for the Vatican.
Why is the Pope so arrogant to fire all the Christians and conservatives, all the real Catholics that are fighting him? It's so obvious when the day after the gay orgy breaks and days after his deputy Pope gets caught running the child procurement centers and reportedly raping hundreds of children, now they're saying, in these indictments, to fire his opposition. Doesn't he know how guilty that looks?
Well, in this poll that we just terminated, 2,000 people said, 84% of the total people, when they were asked if Pope Francis is respecting the morals and the doctrine of the Catholic faith, 84% of Italians said that he's not respecting the Catholic faith, and he's supposed to be the Pope. This is incredible. I mean, we've never been in front of a situation of
Sure,
this
how
kind.
did Catholics handle it 4 months ago when he said to the Catholic newspaper, it makes me sick to my stomach when I hear about Europe's Christian roots, let more Muslims in. I mean, this guy ought to go be an imam in Saudi Arabia.
Well, Alex, the second question, which is the last one of this poll, well, it wasn't the last one, but in my exposure now is the last one. So 96% of Italians, equal to 2,300 votes, stating that Pope Francis is damaging Italy with his actions, letting in all these Muslims and these immigrants. So now that with Scenari Economici and Professor Antonio Maria Rinaldi, we have done this poll, you will see tomorrow in all the Italian newspapers, and probably even the Vatican will have to react to this poll because it is giving us results which are unprecedented. 96% of Italians think the Pope is illegitimately forcing on us these immigrants. So basically they don't think of him as a good Pope.
All right. We're going to break in about 45 seconds, but starting off, Craig, what's your view of this whole Russia situation? I mean, I think it's clearly a witch hunt.
Well, from my sources, yeah, it is a witch hunt. I think it's just a matter of desperation, Alex. It's just a revelation of how little they have to fight with against an outsider like President Trump, who is into actually and genuinely restore power to the American people and drain the swamp. I think the longer they hold on to this Russian concussion, we call it, the more damage they do to themselves. So it's it's popcorn worthy to watch them struggle and try to maintain that narrative at this point.
I agree. It's been toxic since day one, and even their own constituents say that's why they're turning against him. And now they're going to have Hillary and Pelosi and Obama run the midterm elections. I mean, just don't they ever figure it out? We'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, I want to ask both our guests specifically to get into the whole Russia situation because, like Craig Sawyer just said, if you just joined us, it's the Russian concussion. I hadn't heard that term, but it makes perfect sense. All the evidence is Hillary and Podesta and all of them were involved, the Russians. They were still minor players, but it was espionage. That's what the Russians do. That's what our government does. The Chinese, though, are just like absolutely in our business. That all these foreign powers, all this foreign money, dumping money into Hillary. Trump got none of it, none of the big foreign banking money, none of it, none. And then they turn around and say he's got all these foreign influences. And I didn't even ask Craig this, but it's up on Infowars.com right now, Craig. Ellen L. Weintraub, a commissioner on the Federal Elections Commission, talks about how I'm being criminally investigated. They want to call me before Congress. And the FBI, it says, is investigating me for espionage, for being run by the Russians and financed by them, which I'm not, and not 1 cent. And that Drudge and Infowars and Breitbart could face, quote, inquisition. And then it just goes on to have McClatchy saying, yes, we're being criminally looked at, but there's no evidence. I mean, this is incredible. The American people beat Hillary, not the Russians. I don't even speak 5 words of Russian. I know the word babushka means grandma, doesn't it? Or another word, vodka. I mean, what do you make of this, Craig? What do you make of this, Mr. Zagami?
Well, again, it's desperation. It's pathetic if you look at it from an informed perspective. But it's sad and concerning, you know, from an American citizen's viewpoint, or those that may not have an inside look. So, look, I think as the prosecutions increase in D.C. and the swamp begins to be drained, they'll get on the run. You know, what I'm passing word to the president through my contacts is that we need fire superiority for the side of good. The lies cannot be allowed to be just launched in rapid succession without return fire. These subversives need to be investigated and prosecuted. Once that starts happening, it will accelerate, and liars and these attackers will be on the run, and truth can prevail as that swamp starts to drain, and things will improve.
Leo Zagami, isn't it, though, perfect projection? They know they're the globalists. They know they're the ones killing our sovereignty. Italy just voted months ago to not let the EU put an army there. And the EU said, we don't care, we're still going to march an army in. They're the globalists. They're the ones taking our sovereignty. I mean, it's just insane. But I've known in your own country, they've removed what other presidents claiming that they were Russian puppets, right? This was first used in Italy, wasn't it?
Well, of course, the connection, privilege, friendship between Putin and Berlusconi was often put into discussion by the left-wing judiciary system, and I think it's the same in America. You have a judiciary system that unfortunately is completely left-wing and will never be biased, because since the end of the 60s, when the liberals took over the universities and the people teaching in those universities, we never re-established a real conservative teaching in those universities. In Italy, you can't even teach in a university if you are a right-wing professor. You have to be left-wing. You have to have basically the Democratic Party or the Communist Party membership, and then you can teach in an Italian university. This is absolutely outrageous, and unfortunately, it will never make a society better, a society which is so unbiased. So
exactly, bingo. That's why they're so panicked. Trump's barely trying to turn the tide with a good Supreme Court justice and a few others. We'd be done if it wasn't for Trump. That's why they're fighting so hard to remove him. Let's do 5 more minutes with both of you and what you think as experts we should do next to ensure we defeat these globalists. The audience is listening. They're wanting directives. I'm wanting directives from them. We're all in this together, side by side. Hour number 3, straight up. Joel Skousen on North Korea. Stay with us.